Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Can-As podcast. This week, obviously the NFL season's coming to a wrap, so we'll talk very little about the NFL, I'm thinking, but there's some big news coming out of both soccer and tennis for Canada right now. So it's I stand corrected on the tennis aspect of Canada. So we're going to tell you really what happened.
Might as well start with that now.
Yeah. So. We'll do NHL a little bit too and that kind of stuff, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's start with tennis today. Let's not do soccer. Let's do tennis today.
Wow,
Team
just
Canada.
it up.
I know,
Right,
ballsy. I know. The team. You know how last week we mentioned that Team Canada lost to the US 3-0 in the ATP Cup, and that was pretty much the end of their chances. Nope. They ended up winning the ATP Cup today. They had a few favorable results, so the States ended up losing their next two games against both Germany and Great Britain. Canada was in the first place tie with Great Britain with a 2-1 record, both of them. Canada actually won fewer sets, fewer matches, individually speaking. But since they won the tiebreaker, they won the match between them and Great Britain, they advanced.
Oh, so technically they advanced.
Yeah, so they advanced as top of the group because of that.
Nice.
Great Britain was a heck of a team, too. Like, they have some really, really good players in that team. Like, two top 20s, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Like, they're good. Anyways, Canada's first match, they didn't have Denis Shapovalov and I believe one of the Canadians. And I think it's because, like, Shapo tested positive for COVID either late 2021 or super early 2022. No, it was late 2021. And so he couldn't play the first game. I think he was still coming out of, like, quarantine and, like, training and all that kind of stuff. He wasn't ready. But he's played every match since. And they ended up winning the group. And there were some big results there, man. Like, Shapo and Felix both won their singles matches against Germany, which is massive. Like, that's against Sasha Zverev, which Felix had to play against, who's one of the top players in the world, and he won. And then Denis Shapovalov had to play against Jan something Struff. He ended up beating Struff as well, which is, I don't know if it was his first time or second time, but let's just put it this way. Struff has had a hold on Shapo throughout his career, which has been really nice to see. Shapo finally getting over that hump. And yeah, so they beat Germany. They lost the first game to Great Britain, but they won the other two. They won the doubles. They won the doubles, and then they won the second singles match, which I believe Felix was the one that won that. And the doubles one was huge, man. The fact that they beat them in doubles, like, Great Britain has a top 4 player in the world in doubles. And the fact, like, Felix and Shapo, they're great players individually, but singles and doubles is a completely different beast.
Totally different, yeah.
Completely different beast.
That's pretty impressive then.
Yeah, they ended up winning that one. And at the end of the day, their semifinal was against defending champ Russia. And Russia, in my opinion, Daniil Medvedev is the greatest player in the world right now. He's just so good, man. Oh, yeah. And he manhandled Felix in the second game. But Shapo had his first game. It was against like 160-something ranked player in the world. He was Russian. I completely forgot the guy's name. Sabiulin or something like that. But the guy was unreal, man. Like, his level of tennis that guy was playing was like top 20 for sure. I have no idea how he's ranked that low, but he was really good. Like, yeah, it looks like Shapo, the number 13 or 12 player in the world, barely beating the 160 something. Looks bad on paper, but like when you actually saw the actual game, like, that was very impressive. And yeah, and with Shapo winning, then that means Felix had the game, and we said he got destroyed by Medvedev. First set was relatively close. Second set was 6-0 though, so it wasn't. Yeah, Medvedev was just a completely different beast.
Yeah, just got overwhelmed, I'm guessing.
Completely. And so then that brings him to the doubles, and take into account this is the ATP Cup semifinals. So like, this is, obviously you lose, you go home kind of
best
thing.
Best of the best. Like, yeah. Lose, you go home, yeah.
And it was the Safiulin, whatever his name is, with Medvedev against our two guys, Felix and Shapo.
Dang, okay.
Unreal match, dude. It went to a third set, like the third set tiebreak that they do in doubles, and they ended up coming back. And like, you see there were some good shots in that game. Like, all 4 of them played so well, and the fact Canada won that. So it brings us to the final, which was played Saturday Edmonton time at around 11 p.m. is when it started.
And
it ended Spain.
Ooh.
So Spain, but Spain didn't have Rafael Nadal, so it was a little bit more favorable for us. So it was
But
Carreño
still, like,
Busta and Bautista Agut.
yeah, still
is who-
Spanish players are like
Well, they're
amazing.
yeah. Well, the Spanish are known for just playing like an ultra strong defensive game and just grinding out wins, right? Like that's typically how Spain plays their tennis, and that Nadal style and Ferrer style. If you remember Ferrer, they all played that kind of style, which was really tough for the opposition, and especially for like the style of play that both Chapo and Felix play, which is like very strong offensive games. And listen, we've said it on the podcast. I've personally said it multiple times. Like, I genuinely feel these guys are top 10s or top 5 talents. Like, they are good players, man. And I'm looking at the games and, like, their weaknesses are truly just themselves. Their mental game is by far their weakest part of their game right now. They have great serves. They don't have, like, the Milos Raonic, John Isner type serves, but they have great serves. Great placement, pace. They can have aces when they want. Like, they both have really good. Chapo's backhand, in my opinion, is one of the greater backhands in the world at this moment. It's a one-handed, just behemoth of a shot. Don't know how he does it. And Felix just has an overall great, like, just, I don't know, rally kind of game. Like, they're both good enough to make it far, you know? Like, maybe their defense could use a little bit of work because they're just such offensively minded players. I think that's why Medvedev just crushed Felix so easily, because Medvedev, if you were looking at his rallies, he was like 20 feet behind the baseline, man. He was like ultra defensive, getting everything and just forcing Felix to make his own mistakes. But I digress. It brings us to the finals against Spain, and both players played matchups in which they've had tough times in the past against these players, and they both won in straight sets. And
Dang.
Canada won
Nice.
at like 4:30 a.m. this morning, Sunday the 9th. Canada won the ATP Cup for the first time ever.
Dang. That's pretty sweet.
It's so cool,
That's
hey?
pretty cool.
And like earlier we were talking about the Davis Cup and how Canada got destroyed there. So the Davis Cup and the ATP Cup are a little bit different. ATP Cup has to do with like the current individual singles rankings of these players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so you qualify, so like for example, your country qualifies if your top player is within the top 16 or 18 in the world single standings. You know what I mean?
Dang. So like
this is why it's like if one of like a Greek player, if you only have one good player in your country and they're in the top 10, you're in.
And that's for the ATP Cup.
For the ATP Cup.
Okay.
For the ATP, for the Davis Cup, it's a little bit. I don't know if they're going to keep on doing it or not. I hope they do because I really like the format. But the Davis Cup, your country is ranked based on like their previous Davis Cup results. So it's like it's an actual country rank, not necessarily your singles players. Like Canada didn't have either Chapo or Felix in the Davis Cup this last go around, but they were still ranked like 3rd or 4th in the tournament because they finished 2nd to Spain the last time that the Davis Cup was there.
Okay.
It's an interesting. They're completely different formats. I was looking into it a lot recently, and I personally like the ATP Cup because it guarantees the best on the best.
I was gonna say like ATP Cup sounds like good.
Yeah.
But if you're like the top, what did you say, like 16?
I think it's definitely in the top 16 for sure. I think
so
it's
if it's like ruled with like one country, then you're basically
so exactly that's the thing, right? And so like, but in order to, I believe in order to qualify as one of those countries, like your top player needs to be at that tournament to be in there. Like Spain qualified because one of Bautista, I think it's Bautista Agut is actually like 8th in the world or 9th. Like he's up there, right?
Yeah.
But like for example, Russia made it because Medvedev is like number 2, but their second player Kachanov didn't play, and he's also in the top 10. You know what I mean? Like in a Davis Cup, that would have been a little bit like. Let's just put it this way: if Medvedev decided not to play, same with Kachanov, Russia wouldn't have been in this tournament.
Okay.
Because they just didn't have the talent, or they didn't have the players in the top 10 to play. If I'm not, and I think that's how the rules worked, but.
It's interesting, but it's kind of weird.
It is a little bit, yeah. Because like Djokovic was supposed to play, I think, but we all know what's happening with him right now with the vaccine issue and all that kind of stuff in Australia.
In Australia, yeah.
He's not going to get a result he's not going to get an answer until Monday. Monday for Australia, so like late Sunday for us, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty impressive that Canada ended up winning the ATP Cup. I was shocked. My brother asked me yesterday, he's like, who do you actually think is going to win? I'm like, listen, man, like, as a betting man, the odds are Spain. I'm sorry, like, I want Canada to win, obviously, and I think they have the talent to be able to beat these guys, but until they actually win, they won't. You know what I mean?
Yep. And then they won.
And they ended up winning. So I think this is a huge step for them. Genuinely, this is a huge step. They won a
definitely like a confidence boost for like
100%
for both Felix and Dennis.
100%. They can play at the bigger stage. This wasn't like a full packed 10,000 plus fan stadium, or sorry, even more, like 50,000 plus. This wasn't one of those huge stadiums, but it was still like a big international moment. You're playing for your country and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's it for tennis, man. Like the Australian Open starts next week.
Nice.
So that's going to be exciting to watch. Realistic expectations for Canadians. I see at least one of the two men making it into this quarterfinals, at least.
At least, yeah.
And then maybe a semifinal. Again, it really depends on if they play how they can. Man, they can both work their way to the final for sure.
And it's also the luck of the draw too.
Completely agree. So
if both like mesh together like smoothly, then yeah, they could definitely make it to like the semis or the finals for sure.
Yeah. So moving on to what normally starts off the podcast episodes, we'll move on to it now as number 2. And still some pretty big news coming out of there. So do you remember earlier on in the year, you and I spoke about Canadian international players going and starting and playing out in Europe and trying to get more like difficult leagues and more competitive leagues?
Yeah.
Okay. You and I spoke about this earlier this morning when we got together for the podcast. Richie Larea has signed for Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham Forest is an English championship team. It's the second division in the English leagues, right behind the Premier League. So, but it's still very competitive.
Still pretty good, yeah.
Very competitive, and I think it is a bit of an upgrade, in my opinion. It is an upgrade to the MLS and just like the overall quality. So that's a very big deal. Richie Larea signing over there in Nottingham. I believe it was a €1 million signing fee. So they paid $1 million, €1 million, so like 100 million Canadian, pretty much.
Yeah.
But they signed Richie Larea for $1 million. And
how old is Richie?
Richie's 27. He was just born January 7th, so 2 days. Happy belated birthday, Richie Larea.
Happy belated birthday, yeah.
Yeah, but 95. And so he's going to be competing for a starting position in that team at the moment as a fullback. English football, man, like the fullback position is really crucial, man. If you don't have a good fullback in the playing style of English football, like you're kind of screwed because they are part of your attack all the time. Like that's just how they play out there.
Also, it's like full on attack, basically.
Pretty much. I mean, like you have to attack and you have to defend. You know what I mean? Like the wingers and fullbacks are really interchangeable on many of the teams. So it's really nice to see that Richie Larea signs out there. And there's a report out there. I don't know necessarily how true or not it would be, but Barcelona apparently made a player-for-player swap offer to TFC for Richie Larea. One of Dest, if I'm not mistaken, which is a decent fullback, but. Yeah, you don't see that pretty often. So Richie Larea was actually is highly regarded in regards to his playing style and his talent. $1 million doesn't seem like too much, right? But it's still not bad. It's not bad at all, considering the fact that he just became like a full on professional with TFC like 3 or 4 years ago. Just the way that he's grown and developed, it's been nothing short of fantastic for Canada.
Yeah, and it's just nice to see like teams across the pond are looking for like Canadian players.
Yeah, and they're interested in them. Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's a perfect segue. There is this 17-year-old kid called Jaquil Marshall Ruti. We spoke about him in a previous episode, going for Liverpool. Apparently, man, Liverpool loves the kid. Like he's been on trial with them for the last little bit. That's another TFC player that has gone elsewhere. He became a TFC starter like last year, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And he's working his way up, but he is being highly regarded, man. Like Bayern Munich, the PSGs, like the big clubs are looking at signing him. That's a big deal.
That's big, yeah.
Yeah. So he's this Canada attack is going to be lethal. We have Alfonso Davies, the 7th highest rated player in the world, in regards to like his worth. Yeah. 7th highest valued player in the world, if I'm not mistaken. 7th or 9th, but I'm going to go with 7 because it sounds better.
Yeah.
Jonathan David, who is going to go to a top flight team I'm not saying that Lille isn't, because the French league is still really competitive, but he will be going to a top team.
Oh, definitely.
In the next little bit. Tajon Buchanan, who just got over to Club Bruges, he completed his first week of training with them, and by all accounts, he's doing fantastic. He's loving his time out there, and man, I'm so pumped the fact that he's just developing them. You have Kyle Larin, he's playing the Turkish league, and he's like 28, 29, so like he's not young by striker standards, but
still, like, learning in Europe is completely different than
yeah,
in
he's
North
26.
America,
So I'm mistaken. He's 26, but even then, it's like
So just
he's
learning-
getting into the
yeah,
prime.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's been absolutely fantastic for us too. That's an elite front four, man. And then you add this Jaquil kid as well. It's like this is incredible. Our offense is going to be so good, and that's not even that. We have this Mexican Canadian dual citizen that we're trying to get over here too, who's an 18-year-old attacking midfielder, and you add again Jaquil, who's a right wing. Like that's like 6 guys for 4 spots that are going to be fighting for 4 spots. Like that's what you need. Like Canada's going to have an elite offense in the
Or
World
we can
Cup.
just put everyone on and
That's true,
let
right?
them learn, and then just have just amazing offense.
I envision at least like the Jaquil kid. I envision Jaquil starting off as a substitute, coming on as like a 70th minute replacement just to get like the attack going. Or I can also see Tejan moving to the left, Davies moving as left back, and then having that full on attack down the left side just completely lethal, and Jaquil on the right. Like there's just so many options that John Herdman has.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. So Jaquil is going. It's looking more and more every day that Jaquil will be signing for a big European team. Now, will he be in the starting lineup to start? I highly doubt it. But they do, like most teams over in Europe, do a really good job like loaning out their players, getting them the development that they need, and then coming back and then playing for the team. So as long as we just need them to have good playing time and develop, like they need to have world class trainings, but also playing time to be able to fully properly develop in those leagues, right? So it's looking good for Canadian soccer, man. It's looking so good. And then in the women's side, Stephanie Lebay was officially shortlisted as one of the female top 3 goalies in the world. Officially shortlisted. But we got completely screwed over by the other 2 awards. Sinclair Fleming, neither of them made it to the shortlist for the top women award.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Bev Priestman didn't make it to the shortlist for the top coach. How does the Olympic gold medal winning coach not get shortlisted? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, obviously we're
Especially
biased.
since no one expected us to win gold.
That's the thing, man.
And then we just
And it's not like we had a
worked
terrible
through,
year
yeah.
this year. Maybe like the fact that we lost to Mexico twice to end the year, maybe that was like didn't help. But even then, that shouldn't affect it.
No.
Like the best coach was the one with the best results, and in the one and only big international tournament that happened this year,
was the Olympics.
obviously the winning coach of that should at least have consideration. Like, come on, this is ridiculous. But
I'm happy that
listen,
Lebay got it.
there is no
Or
shot
shortlisted.
that Lebay does not win.
No, yeah.
Like she was the best player, like the best Canadian player in those Olympics.
Oh yeah.
Like, let's not even kid ourselves. The amount of penalties that she saved and just her leadership in the back, like that team was able to play more attacking, more offensive, solely because they knew how good of a goalie they had.
Oh yeah.
Lebay was standing on her head, all 5'0" of her. Like she's a tiny goalie too. Like she was incredible, and we have some good goalies coming up in the system behind her too. Like Kaylin Sheridan is supposed to be a really good goalie too. This Canadian women's team is just going to get better and better, and it's going to be incredible. Janine Becky has been rumored to have some offers from the NWSL, National Women's Soccer. Yeah, NWSL I think is what it is. So she might come to the States. I'm not entirely sure if she wants to or not, because I don't know. Like the level of soccer in the women's ranks, the U.S. league is pretty high up there. Like they've got some good players there, but then you always see like soccer, football. You always think like, oh, Europe is better, right?
Europe,
So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what Janine Becky does. She's got the talent to be one of the better strikers in the world, no question. Like she's a very, very talented player. She's just had a couple rough years recently. In individual and like in the World Cup she missed a big penalty, and like in the Olympics she wasn't the greatest. She got like replaced by a couple different players, but I have faith that she'll be able to bounce back, because she's still a heck of a player, man. Unbelievable. I don't know what's going on, but like she'll get there. I think she just needs to keep on busting her rear end and just like work hard, and then she'll be able to continue competing at the highest level. So let's move on real quick. Basketball. The Raptors are on a 5-game win streak. Did you see that?
I did see that.
So we call them out for they're probably not going to make the playoffs, and then they probably heard the podcast, I guess. Hey, like
I guess so.
Oh, we got to prove these idiots wrong. Like
We got to prove these 2 random Edmontonian kids just how wrong they are.
yeah, but they're playing well, man. Like Freddie Van Vliet got completely disrespected. He's like the 8th ranked point guard in the Eastern Conference in fan voting, like completely disrespected. So, yeah, obviously he's probably not very happy about that. Yeah, so they're 5-game win streak, and there's some pretty convincing wins too. And Freddie VanVleet, I think, broke a club record. I think he got like 20 plus points in the third quarter of one of those games and just like crushed it. Like he's been playing unreal, and it's nice that we have a fully healthy Toronto Raptors squad now.
Yeah,
they're all back from COVID protocols and all that kind of stuff. So it's finally looking like the Raptors that we can have. Now, I'm going to stick with what I said. I still think this is a 7th, 8th place team until they get one more until they get a superstar, really.
Yeah.
Because if they get a superstar, I do strongly believe this can be a top 4 team in the East with one superstar. Because they have the stars around them to be able to do well. If Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes,
yep.
If they all play the way that they can, but this is actually interesting too. They're playing an interesting style of basketball right now where they don't have like traditional center starting right now. Like they're playing like a 5 forward/guard rotation right now, which is like Nick Nurse. That was his full intention with this squad, and now that they're actually playing with like the intention that they had, it's looking pretty damn good, man.
Yeah, and like the wins, like their past wins have been like pretty good like wins. Like some of them are like more than 15 points,
and then not just that,
more than 20 points.
Opposition that they're
and the opposition they've been playing too. So
like they beat the Utah Jazz, which is one of the better teams in the league for sure. Last year I think they were the number 1 seed in the entire league, weren't they? Or they were up there.
Or they were up there.
Yeah. They beat the Spurs, who like Spurs are a decent team.
But they beat the Bucks.
They beat the Bucks without Giannis, but still. They beat the Knicks. Knicks are reeling a little bit, but
they're still a decent team.
Yeah, they're still like.
And the Clippers.
Yeah, there's really only like 1 or 2 bad teams in the entire league. And then in the next game, our homie RJ Barrett did a pretty good job there, and Boucher, the Canadian on the Raptors, got 12 points in 21 minutes of play. I like the way that they're approaching, I guess, their lineup. They're playing to their strengths. They're not playing the traditional style. Like Siakam here is as a center/forward, so I guess Siakam's playing that center position for them. He's their tallest player anyways, but
yeah, so it makes sense.
It's just working. And like for the defensive scheme, like when teams defend against them, as long as our guys can defend against their respective others' positions, we're fine, right?
Yeah.
But it's a lot more difficult for a center to defend Siakam because like, I don't know, centers are not like Siakam. Siakam's more like agile. He's still a big dude, but it's nice to see like they're doing quite well. They've shot up the standings. They're now 7th. They're 1.5 games behind Cleveland, but it's because they lost the same amount of games and they won 3 fewer. So they've played 3 fewer games. And in their last 10, they're 7-3. So like they're doing quite well. They play against the Pelicans today, Sunday, January 9th. 4 p.m. So the game will be over by the time this episode is posted on YouTube. Pelicans are, at the moment of recording, 14-25. And I don't even know if they're going to have Zion, to be completely honest with you. So they're doing pretty well, man. Like, this is really, really good to see for the Raptors. Just getting out of that little slump. Like, I don't think they're going to win out the rest of the season, don't get me wrong. But, like, a 6th or 7th place finish for these guys, that's realistic.
As long as they, like, are around that position, then yeah, it should be fine.
Well, you want this for your young players, right? Like the Scotty Barnes is only going to get better, right? Like, and then like future seasons, like you're not going to get the high draft picks, but like these guys, like Freddie VanVleet is an undrafted player. Like these guys are good at finding the undrafted talents out there, right? So I don't know, man. It's been really impressive. I saw like three of their games the last week or so. It was good, man. The Knicks game was awesome to watch. It was closer than what the score actually ended up because they stopped playing their starters by the end of the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. They were up like 22 points or something, and they ended up winning by like 15 or whatnot. But yeah, the score was a lot closer than what the game actually was. And then like moving on like to the Canadian players that are playing, like the Warriors are still doing really well, and our homie Andrew Wiggins is with them. They're currently 2nd in the Western Conference. That's only because they played 1 fewer game than Phoenix, and Phoenix won that game. Mm-hmm. How good is Phoenix, hey? Oh my gosh, dude! I don't think they have a single Canadian on there, but like that's a good team.
But no, yeah,
It's gonna
definitely.
be the team that's gonna win is gonna be between Phoenix and Golden State. Golden State got Klay Thompson back, if I'm not mistaken. Klay Thompson is now back,
Yep, no,
which
he's
is
back.
a
Yep.
huge positive for them. But that also does slightly affect a Canadian on there, and that's Andrew Wiggins. Like they lost the last game against the Pelicans, 101-96. Andrew Wiggins was their leading point getter with 21 points. And they also didn't play. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, none of them played. Yeah, they had their B team play against these guys. Danny Green, Thompson, Curry, none of them played. So I guess they're slowly getting him in. They're not necessarily like
rushing him.
Yeah, they're not rushing him at all. He was their leading scorer for 2 games in a row. Steph Curry played the previous game where they lost against the Dallas Mavericks. So Golden State Warriors are in a little bit of a 2-game losing streak right now. But I don't see the last game that Klay Thompson played. I'm looking through here. But so, like, regardless, though, that is probably the best team. And another really solid team in which a Canadian is a member of is the Denver Nuggets. They have Nikola Jokic, who is one of the better players in the world, and they have Jamal Murray. But Jamal Murray tore his ACL, so he should be coming back relatively soon, though. He tore his ACL around March of last year, maybe April. So realistically, in the typical recovery, he should be coming back pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know if it's going to be like tomorrow or not, but it should be pretty soon. I mean, I haven't seen too much news in regards to when he's coming back, but it's looking at. It's looking like it's a 6-month stretch from November, so it's probably about April is when he'll be back, probably around there. It'll be interesting if they make the playoffs and Jamal Murray comes back. That'll be nice too. That will be definitely nice to see. And he's a big player on the team, man. He's not the superstar, but he's a really good
player.
Complementary star behind him, right? And the way he was playing last year, he was lights out. He had some massive games. Do you remember like his layup underneath and over LeBron James in the bubble? Like, he's a talented player, man. He's a very talented player. And then looking like other Canadians, like we'll play one of them in the Pelicans today. The Raptors will. RJ Barrett is continually like he's doing well. He's leading his team points consistently. Like he had 30. He put up 32 against the Pacers on Tuesday the 4th. Like he's putting up good numbers, man. And he had like a game winner recently too. So it's I mean the Knicks are they're so weird, man. Like last year they were such a good team. And I don't know what's happened. It's just typical Knicks, I guess, right? It's like the Oilers of basketball, except the Knicks were actually good for a year.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, RJ Barrett is just consistently leading that team, man. Like he's their offensive star. I think he just needs a little bit more supporting help. That's it for me for basketball. Do you have anything you want to add in regards to basketball?
Basketball, no.
No,
not really.
I'm hoping the Canadian Basketball League. I'm hoping to watch that a bit this year. We mentioned that in the last podcast. It'll be interesting to see how the Stingers do. Speaking of the Stingers, like our homie from the Stingers, I haven't seen much of him. He's still on the roster. He didn't play a minute against the Grizzlies the other day. We'll see how it goes. He's American, but he played on the Edmonton Stingers, so it'll be interesting to see. I'd love to be able to see him come back here. Maybe like the Clippers give him stuff to work on to be able to improve it and all that kind of stuff. But it'll be cool. I'm pumped to see the Stingers play this year, man. I really am. But all right, so NFL, there's not much to talk about, really. The season coming to an end. The regular season's coming to an end today. I guess the only thing I'll say is my Packers have clinched the number 1 seed in the NFC West last week, so we'll have a lot of...
My Hawks are just like at the bottom, so that's okay.
Right. But the playoff picture is interesting, man. Like you got Chase Claypool has a chance of making it with Pittsburgh. It's and the Chargers, like it's a small chance because people need to lose in order for the Steelers to make it. So Claypool has a chance, but not huge. Then on the NFC, you really only have 2 teams fighting for a spot. It's the Saints and the 49ers. They're for the last spot in the NFC right now. And because, you have everybody else. And there's no Canadians on any of these teams. So just an unfortunate way to finish the season for Canadian players, for sure. The Chargers is really the team we got to cheer for today. They're playing Sunday Night Football. The winner of that game makes it.
Makes.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much we're going to talk about in regards
No.
to the NFL. There's not much Canadian content going on. The season's coming to an end. And then, I mean, once the playoffs start, like maybe once the Super Bowl hits, we'll talk about who's your Super Bowl predictions from the AFC and NFC. Like, maybe let's go with that. We are a sports podcast after all. We should at least mention it, right?
So from the AFC?
AFC and NFC. Pick one of each.
AFC, I really want, because I've been cheering for the Bills this whole season.
Yeah.
Because of my fantasy.
Yeah.
But they do have like a really good team. So I kind of want the Bills to go all the way.
Mm-hmm.
I also want the Chargers, just because basically my friend introduced me to like Chargers, and every time I go over, basically it's always Chargers football on the TV.
Yeah.
And they're a really, really fun team to watch, especially with Herbert as their quarterback.
Herbert's a heck of a player,
Yeah.
man. And Eckler's a great running back, too. Their defense is pretty solid. Yeah, I agree.
So I either want, if the Chargers, well, I'm going to say, when the Chargers make the playoffs, I want them to go far as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my two picks for the AFC. In the NFC, kind of want either the Rams or the Cardinals to go.
Your
my
divisional opponents?
I know. But they're really good teams. Both teams are really good.
Listen, the parity in the NFC right now is absurd. Like, how good is the NFC right now? Oh my god,
Right?
dude, it's nuts. I will agree. I'll begrudgingly agree to or just say that they're good picks.
Yeah. Well, you're obviously going to pick your Packers for the...
Obviously,
Yeah,
they're the top team in the NFL. They're the top team in the entire NFL. I'm going to start with the NFC. I think the NFC Championship game will go between the Packers and the Rams. If we're going to be completely honest,
I can see
think
that.
they're the two better teams in the NFC. The Packers are getting a ton of players back from injury. Randall Cobb is going to come back for the playoffs, and the fact that they have 2 full weeks off or a full week off, and then they play the next game, like. Aaron Rodgers' broken foot, he'll be able to heal that properly. David Bakhtiari will play today, and he'll be able to like rest up and get some game action.
Yeah.
Like we have Zadarius Smith, who had back surgery in the first year or first week of the season, who potentially can come back for the playoffs. Jair Alexander's coming back. Like this Packers team finished first in the NFC while missing 3 All-Pro players. Mm-hmm. You add these 3 All-Pros. You're obviously going to get better. Our center is coming back too. So it's like, I genuinely, as long as we don't shoot ourselves in the foot again, this is an NFC Championship team. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
The Rams, in my opinion, have the best dual threat offense, defense available. Like this defense, especially with what's-his-face, Von Miller added, and they're insane. It's just remarkable
you
how
can't forget
good.
about Ramsey as well.
Oh yeah, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, like that is a lethal defense. However, the Packers did crush them. We played them this year and we beat them with an undermanned team too. So it's like it's doable. It's just last year was a questionable coaching decision, but he's like our coach has also done. Matt LaFleur has done everything in his power this year to make the ballsy plays during the regular season, so that he knows what he can and cannot do during the postseason. So for me, it's going to be Packers and Rams. Super boring, 1 and 2 seeds. Okay, I get it. It's boring. Okay, but I don't know.
But they're a very good safe pick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
just
smart pick.
who I feel has the best chance. Now, when it comes to the AFC, I'm going to be a little I don't know, weird in my pick.
Off the board.
Off the board. I think the Patriots, man. I think the Patriots have a legitimate chance of getting, like, that defense is so underrated. Let's first start off with that. That defense is elite. Bill Belichick, for me, is the greatest coach of all time. And as long as Mac Jones doesn't throw 5,000 picks a game, I genuinely feel that the Patriots, who also have a Canadian on there, N'Keal Harry, not necessarily playing a ton of football right now, but he still has a Canadian on there. I do think the Patriots are just an underratedly good team. And they're 6-1 on the road this year. So they're going to be playing a lot of road games, and they can win on the road, and the road doesn't seem to affect them that much. So I'm looking forward to seeing the potential of the Patriots having a good title, but then I'm going to be boring, man. I think the Chiefs have really picked themselves up from the beginning of the season, like how terribly
That is
they
true.
played.
They did have a pretty bad
And they're
start to
one of the
season.
hotter teams in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think realistically, if you're a betting man, it's got to be the Chiefs versus Packers in the Super Bowl, right? Like both number 1 seeds, both the 2 hottest teams in the league right now, just in the way that they're playing. Got it. Like, and the Packers are going to play with all their backups anyways, right? Like hardly any starters going to play meaningful minutes today.
Oh, today, yeah, no.
They've
That's
already clinched.
basically
Yeah, they've already clinched the
backups,
first
yeah.
seed, right? So,
Oh yeah.
anyways, those are those are our picks. We have one Canadian on my side, making it all the way to the Super Bowl, hopefully. But definitely to the AFC Championship game. I think Belichick's just the greatest coach of all time. But anyway, so let's go from the NFL. Guess we got to talk about some hockey here, hey?
Yep.
We're gonna do very, very short on the Oilers today, like very minimal. At the end, they lost 2 more games. They've now lost 10 of their last 12. They are out of the playoff position
For now.
They're out of a freaking playoff position. Let's not underestimate how terrible they're doing.
For now, hopefully.
And Dave Tippett is on the hot seat. Do you remember earlier on in the season where we before the massive or right when this losing streak was starting, when we lost 2 games in a row? Remember how I said there's a chance that Tippett might get I can see Tippett getting fired from the Oilers in order to do the Pittsburgh Penguin move, swap kind of thing. That's looking more and more increasingly possible. Now, there's a report out there by multiple reporters. Spector is super in love with Tippett and supporting him crazy, and a bunch of others. And listen, what's wrong with this team isn't necessarily just the coach or just the GM. It's a lot of different things, and a lot of players underperforming, not playing they're on that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they have a game on Monday against Ottawa. If they lose that game, Tippett's gone. There's zero question. Gone, There's no question. Because then you have essentially a week and a half off until your next game, and then that can serve as a new training camp, and whoever new coach you bring in, so whether it's Glenn Gulutzan taking over, who they did a really good job under Gulutzan when he was,
and they were undermanned too, and they won 2 games in a row.
Or my preference would be Paul Maurice. I'd love to see Maurice, or if they promote Jay Woodcroft.
Yep.
But there will be changes if the Oilers
lose. There has to be changes
against Ottawa. There's no question.
Yeah.
They can't play themselves out of the playoffs after such a great start.
Great.
They did something right to start the year. They're also getting very lucky. Now, looking at the Toronto game, their first 2 goals were unbelievably unlucky against them. Just 2 complete... the first one, maybe Smith could have done a little bit better, having his foot on the goal, but he was trying to make a save, and he essentially made it, but then it deflects off the boards, off his leg, and in the net. That's messed up. And then the second goal was a deflection off of 2 feet. They're unlucky. We're not going to share. They're not playing the greatest, but I thought the Toronto game I watched was one of their best games of the season. At least the first 2 periods, they played really well, really strong. But
just like the Oilers, MO basically for a long time, they don't show up for all 3 periods.
Correct.
They show up for 1 or 2, and then they just coast.
Another one with the Oilers is we have 5 more players in COVID protocol and 6 staff.
And 6 staff,
They canceled practice, Sunday's practice, and we'll see if they even play on Monday. That could be Tippett's saving grace. But if they lose one more game, something has to, and a big change has to go. And it's not going to be Holland, because I do not think this is Holland's fault. I don't necessarily think it's all Tippett's fault. I think there's a lot of different people that have the blame to it. But again, I can't stand the people. It's this is all Holland's fault. How could he not? Guys, he only has a certain amount of money. First off, too, Smith, if he was even playing half as good as he played last year for staying healthy, he made a risk on the goaltending front, but the goaltending isn't the only thing that's been killing us. It's just overall team defense that hasn't been great.
Yeah.
And a lackluster effort on most games. There's just, I watch the Oilers games the majority of the time. It's just they're not trying hard enough.
No, it's really I said, they show up for part of the game, and they don't show up for the whole game.
Yeah. So, anyways, Calgary has they're in a little bit of a slump themselves now too. They're 3-6-1. They lost 3 in a row. It's good for the Oilers because we can catch up to them, but we're not winning anything ourselves.
No.
So Vancouver is 8-1-1 in their last 10. They have completely shot up the standings and completely undone the garbage that they did in the first half.
And I'm happy for them too.
They're playing unreal.
With all the talent that they have, it sucked looking at them at the bottom just because of just unlucky or just poor play, I guess.
Pettersson's finally doing, I think he's on COVID protocol right now, but their offense is doing better, but they're playing more of a defensive game. Yeah. And I think it's more of a buy-in to what Bruce Boudreau is doing and saying, and I think that's what happens. Usually when you add a good coach, it just completely changes the team right away, because it's just they just know what they need to do better, and they just do it. You know what I mean? These are professionals, man. These are professional athletes. They're getting paid a lot of money to play a game that they love. You know what I mean? Like, just if everybody buys into the same thing, like the Arizonas of the world can win games. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody buys in, like, then you can be a good team. And maybe that's what's missing here. Anyways, Winnipeg is also not doing great. They are 5th in the Central. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10, which is like respectable, but not great at the same time, right? But like,
especially with like the team that they have, as well. Like, I would say, besides like Tampa Bay and maybe Washington, like they have like one of the best like top to bottom like first line, fourth line, first pair, third pair of like that depth they have is like amazing.
They're just underperforming this year for sure.
Yeah.
And it's sad because that's a good deep team.
Yeah.
And they have, I don't necessarily think they have like the elite superstar.
No, but they have
they have a lot of stars.
Yes. They have like great like
Hellebuck. Sorry, what the heck am I saying? They have an elite superstar, but not offensive or defensive. Continue.
Well, he's technically defensive.
Yeah, but he doesn't produce points, right? Like, they can't be winning games 1-0 every game.
No.
They can't win 0-0 games, right? They have to produce points. And they have very good offense. Like this, from the beginning of the season, we said, you take out their 2 best players of each Canadian team, Winnipeg's got by far the best team.
Yes.
By far. That is a deep squad. And you take out their 2 best players, and their 2 best offensive players. Everybody knows the goaltending that the Jets have is insane. But yeah, they take out their 2 best offensive players, which in my opinion right now is Wheeler and Scheifele. But then they still have an unreal squad behind. Like, Pierre-Luc Dubois is a legitimate... In my opinion, he's a number 1 center on some teams in the NHL. He's their number 2 right now, right?
And they have Kyle Connor, Nick
Ehlers, Josh Morrissey's underrated. Pionk is still there. Yeah, so good. The Jets are underperforming, and I think that's a story of the Canadian teams right now. Vancouver underperformed from the beginning of the year. We said from the beginning their defense isn't the greatest, but they're still a good offensive team. Like, that is an elite offensive team as well, especially their top 2 lines. Those top 2 lines compete with the majority of the NHL. Calgary, they're performing better than they should have to start the year. I think they've gone back down to earth a little bit. I think teams have figured out their playing style, but that's still a pretty decent team. Markstrom's playing unreal. The defense is like the top 4 is amongst the best in the league, in my opinion. Their top 4 defense. The forwards is relatively deep. I don't think they have like the elite forward like some other teams do, but they've got good depth. Montreal is doing. I thought they wouldn't make the playoffs, but I didn't think they'd be this bad.
This bad, yeah.
So they're doing underperforming as well.
Even behind Ottawa too. Yeah. And Ottawa's like super young. So.
And Ottawa too. Like, it's not like they're performing out of their minds right now. Like, they're amongst the worst teams in the league right now. Yeah, they're third last. They're 30th team in the league.
But with Ottawa, it's kind of to be expected.
Yes, but I did expect them to take a step forward this year.
Yes.
Right?
Because they like last year it was like the Canada Division 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were playing really well.
Yeah, except against the Oilers.
Except the Oilers. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, like we were expecting them to have a little bit of a push forward.
Yeah.
But they're kind of just standing there.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and then you have Toronto, who is currently third place in the Atlantic. They have 2 games in hand on Florida, and they're only 4 points behind, so they could actually finish. Toronto is about where I thought they would be. I think Toronto is a very good team, and this is a hot take. I honestly see Toronto, if they can make out of the first round of the playoffs, I can see them being one of the top teams in the East, coming out of the Eastern Conference. As much as I don't want to say it because I hate their fans, some of their fans, there's some Toronto fans that I actually really like, and they're reasonable human beings. The majority aren't.
Maybe I can see that. It's just the top 6 at least, with like Florida, Tampa, and in the Metropolitan, Carolina, New York, Washington. It's gonna be tough if you want Toronto to have a deep run, but
if Toronto finishes first in the Atlantic, then they get a much easier round. They don't have a top opposition until the second round, right? And even then, they're going to be battling it out from second and third place. They were going to be battling it out hard in the second and third place. So you have a chance, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Getting out of the East is going to be tough because I think the best teams in the entire league are going to be in the East this year. You have Carolina, who's unreal. You have the Rangers, who are playing. Shesterkin is playing like a freaking god right now. Washington, you always consider Washington a peak contender, and Pittsburgh's on a 9-1 run. Like,
yeah, Pittsburgh's doing really well. Like, since the start of the season, they're doing really well.
And I think they were on a 9-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken. They just lost the most recent game.
Yep.
Like, they're doing really well. So, honestly, apart from the second wildcard spot, the Eastern Conference is pretty much set. It's going to be Florida, Tampa, Toronto for sure out of the Atlantic. The Carolina, Rangers, Capitals, and Penguins out of the Metro. If you look, it's pretty much set already. Oh, yeah. The West is a lot closer, but you really see the disparity between the Eastern Conference teams, the elite and then the poor ones.
Yeah,
you at least see the difference between the good and the bad in the East, right?
Oh yeah.
In the West, you're not seeing it because like the bad are now doing a lot better and they're performing a lot better, and the good are not doing as good as they were doing before. Like I think the Cup winner comes out of the East. Realistically, if you're a betting man, the East. Now, I do think that there are a couple teams that are underperforming right now that can significantly change their chances, and I do think it's like the Winnipeg. I do think Winnipeg, if they perform the way that they can, has a really good chance. I think Colorado and Winnipeg are going to come out of one of the two of them is going to come out of the Central, I still think. And out of the Pacific, it has to be Vegas. Vegas is the best team in the Pacific, especially with they're going to add Eichel. And then if Edmonton or Calgary gets their situation figured out, then I honestly do believe that one of them can make it out of the Pacific as well. I think it's more.
I can see them making the playoffs, but I don't see either one of them doing a long run, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Edmonton is a team that is built to be able to beat Vegas. They have more star power than them. They're not as deep, but if there's changes made, Calgary is just such a gritty team built for the playoffs that I can see Calgary making it out too. Because Vegas has always been unlucky in the playoffs. They just can't score. That's their biggest issue. They can't score in the playoffs.
Vegas or Calgary?
Vegas.
Oh.
Well, I mean Calgary too, I guess.
Yeah, Calgary too. Yeah.
But like the style of play that they're playing right now is playoff hockey. Yeah. That's just Calgary's MO. It's playoff hockey. And if they're playing playoff hockey the entire season, you're going to be ready for playoff hockey once playoff hockey actually happens, right? I mean, I guess it'll be interesting because there's still a lot of stuff that can happen with this league. We're looking back like a month and a half ago, and we're like, oh yeah, obviously Edmonton, Calgary, and Vegas are locks for the coming out of the Pacific, and yeah. But now it's like, oh my God, Edmonton's completely out of the playoffs while Calgary's reeling and Vancouver's doing really well. Like maybe Vancouver makes the playoffs, but I guess we'll see. Like there is a lot that Edmonton needs to do to be able to get back into playoff position. They are doing horrifically recently, and it's just been embarrassing. But that being said, if they win all their games, they're only a point behind Vegas for top spot, right? Like, there's a way. There's still a chance, but I guess what we're gonna get out of this is that Calgary needs to make a change. I don't think they do. Maybe they need to add like a top 6 forward to help them, but Calgary is like, really, if they just keep on playing their MO, they're going to get out of this something. They're going to do well. Edmonton needs to make 2 or 3 changes. Yeah. And I think coach is one of them, just to get like a new fresh face in there. A top 6 forward and a second pair lefty.
I don't want to say... I don't know, because if they have all their defense, like Edmonton, they're pretty good. Like their defense is good, but I say we need a goalie.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be nice if we can get Fleury here. It'll be nice with a goalie, but I do think, goalie's probably one of the biggest things.
Like offense, like if they played it like they played it in the beginning, like just they should be fine for offense. Defense, if everyone's healthy, I don't see them having too much trouble. It's just
goalie's number one, but they give up so many grade A chances that you can have a brick wall in there and they're still going to get through somehow.
But then you can't give up a goal in like the first 5
You can't give up a bad goal every single game, which is what our goalie, mainly Koskinen, has been doing. Skinner's been great.
Skinner's been the fantastic. Only good goalie we've had this year.
I don't blame Smith for all that stuff, though.
No, but because he only played a couple games.
Yeah, that's fair. Smith hasn't done anything yet to prove to us that he's the Smith of last year.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I don't disagree.
Yeah. But I'd still say we need a goalie.
Listen, I'll be completely honest with you. I am personally okay with riding Skinner and Smith if we upgrade, because I think our biggest need is one more top 6 forward so that we can have our centers as McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, and Ryan. I personally for me, I feel that is the best chance for the Oilers to win. Is we have that center depth and you would disperse out the minutes because McDavid and Draisaitl are so tired, man.
Do you think Tippett will do that?
No, because I think he's gonna get fired, and I think it's because he doesn't want to do the smart stuff. He's so ignorant and arrogant in the way that he wants to run the team that way. He's never open to that. He's never once tried it.
No.
Why don't you try it? Your job is on the line. Like.
Yeah, basically, your job is on the line.
This is the last year of his contract. He's not going to get re-signed unless we make it far in the playoffs. There's no chance. And the way he's coaching them right now. He's making there's more questionable coaching decisions than there's bad goals being allowed by the goalies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think
agree,
we need one more top six forward to make it a legit 3-4 scoring lines. Right?
I agree. Either like get like a top six forward and like a top or second pairing lefty.
Yeah.
Or don't do that and just get a good goalie and then...
I think a goalie will instill more confidence and they'll be able to get back to form. I don't disagree with that.
Like,
but I think our problems are bigger than just one goalie.
Oh, no, I know. But it's just like, if you do get like a good goalie, you'll have more confidence because you'll know.
And that's fair. That's fair.
Be able to stop
but
the pucks.
I wish they can find a way of getting rid of like if they can find a way of getting all three, a goalie plus a top six forward plus a D, that'd be huge.
Yeah, like I've also been reading that they're not thinking of doing anything for the goalie until like the off season, which is weird.
But I see it because Georgiev is an RFA at the end of at this season's end. And then what are you going to do just to get a goalie for a rental for a playoff run that might or might not happen?
Yeah, but like I've been looking through like some lists of like free agents for next season for goalies. Most of them are probably going to get re-signed. So there's not going to be a lot of choice.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Like the only one that I can see in a list on Cap Friendly, probably Georgiev, and that's it.
Georgiev, I mean, you have Korpisalo, Merzlingas. One of the two of them needs to go. They're both able to like be a 1A kind of thing.
I would probably rather get Georgiev.
I would too.
Than Korpisalo or Merzlinkins.
Genuinely, my dream has always been John Gibson. Get him out here somehow. But the cap situation will be a little bit difficult, especially with next year, how much more money we're spending. I mean, I guess Koskinen leaving, his money goes to Nurse, but that leaves the same budget for our goaltending, right? That's why I was never against the Smith signing because it was a smart financial move. And I honestly think, genuinely for
probably
me,
because he was maybe late on some of them.
No, I don't think he was late. He was in on Kemper the entire time. He was in on Markstrom the entire time. He was in on just about he was. I don't even know if he was in on Grubauer or even Drieger. I don't think he would have been in on Drieger at all. But it's like it makes sense though. It's like Grubauer is playing behind one of the best defenses in the league. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand, us Oilers fans, we need to understand, like, numbers of some goalies are completely inflated because of the team they play in front of. Like, this Edmonton defense is not an elite defense like the Tampa Bays or the St. Louis Blues or like the Avalanche. Like, this is, like, you need a goalie who's going to be able to, like, we're not going to have a top 3 goalie in the league anytime soon with the way that this defense is playing. And this is why I strongly think a second pairing lefty to move Keith to the third pairing to just, I don't know, play minutes when he needs to, but like just be the sound defensive leader that we need when we can get him. Like, disperse the minutes, stop playing McDavid like 30 minutes a game. Same with Draisaitl. Like, it's not going to be good for them. They're not going to be able to put up the same juice every shift, right? But listen, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, Ryan as your 4 centers, that's the way we're going to win a cup. That's it. Have good pairs. McDavid with Puljujärvi, Draisaitl. This is who I think we need to find him a second winger for. I'm thinking Draisaitl with Foegele makes the most sense. Draisaitl, Foegele as of right now, Yamamoto, and then I was saying Draisaitl, Cassian, Foegele. Find him a second pairing right winger. McDavid, McLeod, Puljujärvi. Elite speed in that line, and plus Hyman, the gritty ass play of Puljujärvi, and then Hyman, Nuge, and Yamamoto as an elite defensive / offensive potential third line, and then ideally you have Ryan with Shore and Cassian in your 4th line, and that's like a checking, hard nosed, gritty line. Especially if Cassian plays the playoff style of Cassian that we've seen in the past, like that is a legit that forward group would compete with every forward group in Canada. I'm sorry, I know I'm biased as hell, but if you find yourself a second pairing right winger, that is a good forward group because you have such elite talent dispersed between your top three lines. Let's not kid ourselves. Hyman with Nuge is a very, very that could be a top line on some teams in the NHL.
And who would you get then for a left winger?
I'm thinking
or
right
just a winger in general.
And it's tough. Like ideally, you'd want like somebody like a Richard Raquel who can provide that offense. Too, yeah. But it's going to be the asking price is going to be huge, right? But there are some names out there that I'm thinking.
Lawson Krause maybe.
Lawson Krause could be a good one. Jake DeBrusk, that'd be my ideal guy. You need to sign him to a long-term contract, but if you can get Jake DeBrusk in there, they're probably going to want. They want to win now, but they also need to replenish their prospect pool because they got rid of a lot. I'd be okay. Like we can trade Lagesson, we can trade like the Samarukovs of the world, we can trade. Honestly, probably not Bourgault or Holloway because Bourgault still is like not fully proven to what he can do. But we have names that we can trade. Like,
would you go for like Krause and Chychrun since he's been like
maybe Chychrun? I'm honestly thinking Ben Chariot out of Montreal would be my ideal pick.
No, but if you wanted to go for like one, like right away, like just get two players.
If we can find a way of doing it, probably yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, but I also think Montreal has guys that they can offer with the def. My number one choice in the defense for the Oilers is Ben Chariot. He made it to the Cup final last year. He was a big piece in it. Big dude, if I'm not mistaken. Like we need big, physically, just demanding kinds of players happening right now, right? And I do think Barrie can be a trade piece to bring in a more defensively set right defenseman. Along with a decent fourth line forward or something, because we can still upgrade fourth line too. You know what I mean? It'll be. I'm curious to see when. Not McLeod. Who's the other guy that's in the minors right now? That it's his time to come up as like a first liner. He's just destroying the AHL for us right now.
It's not Benson, is it?
No, it's not Benson.
Yeah.
Cooper Marody, yeah. Cooper Marody is going to be a guy that's going to come up here next year and be a meaningful player on the fourth or third line. 100%. That's really all I have to say. Like, it's a lot easier said than done. Obviously, Holland is not somebody who likes to significantly overpay. I think that he showed that in the offseason. He doesn't overplay free agents. And he doesn't overpay for trades. Like, he waits. And he, knows the value of his players and he knows the values of other teams' players. I think literally just the Jesse Puljujärvi scenario shows that. I agree he maybe looked to have overpaid in the Keith trade. And that also being said, Vancouver...
CC with the term.
Yeah, but he said that all year. He said that the whole time. He's going to pay them terms so that he has an AAV that's lower. He said that the whole time. And let's not kid ourselves. CC was a highly sought-after player because there's not a lot of right-shot defensemen that are NHL caliber. It's just true. And CC is, I wouldn't put him as an upgrade to Bear, but he's an upgrade to whatever the heck we had in our system.
And whatever the heck that we probably would have looked for in the free agency if we didn't get CC.
Exactly. Right? Anyways, it's a lot easier said than done, but I believe that Holland can do it. It'll be interesting if the Oilers even play against the Ottawa Senators on Monday. We'll see. I obviously always want them to win because we need to win in order to get ourselves back in a playoff position. That being said, I do want to see a new coach. Just because I'm so tired of not seeing the three-pronged attack go. I'm so tired of it, man. Like, you try everything else. He plays McDavid with Draisaitl all the time. Like, yeah, those are the two best players in the world. Obviously, they're going to try to get you points, but they haven't done nothing for you together this year so far. Like, the best way of getting them, they know how to defend the Oilers. Just find a way of stopping McDavid and Draisaitl, and if they're on a line, oh my God, how easy is that? Right? But if you have a third line who can legitimately put up, each one of them probably put up 40 to 50 points in the season, give you 30, 40 goals out of that line. Yeah. Are you kidding me? That's insane. You're not going to be able to stop the Oilers. And that's how they stopped us last year. They shut McDavid and Draisaitl down when they were together. That's how they stopped us in every year prior. The year we made it to the Western Conference semifinal against Anaheim, we had a two-prong attack with McDavid and Draisaitl on separate lines, and that worked. Right? I don't understand why Tippett doesn't like doing that. But I guess it's not as deep as he would want, but I still think it's deep enough that he can try something. Just can't still be so stubborn and not try it. But
right.
Anyways, that's enough ripping on them. Hey, we didn't rip on the officiating this week. Look at
that
us.
Is surprising.
I know.
We just decided to rip on the Oilers.
Yeah.
our team.
I didn't actually see too many, in the Oilers games, I didn't see too many horrifically, obliviously terrible calls, too. So I think Again, maybe Bettman's hearing. Hey, Bettman, you're a jerk. Here you go. Hopefully you heard that. But anyways, I think that's everything for our episode this week. Make sure to tune in to the Australian Open, like I said, starts next week. Hockey is going on still. NFL playoffs are starting. It's a really awesome time for sports still. You know what I mean? Basketball is like in the prime of their season right now. Tennis, like I said, again, that's going on. The women are going to be playing pretty soon here too. Like, we're not going to just be talking about the Canadian men. That'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. So
also, don't forget, leave a comment of any other sports that have like any Canadians, and we can definitely like take a look and probably talk about that too.
Exactly. Yeah, we'd love to hear feedback. It's just how we get better, and we're having a lot of fun doing this. But we want to grow and want to get better. So thank you everybody for listening to our episode this week. Tune on later on this week where we're going to give you bold predictions for the 2022 year for Canadian athletes.